All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming by to see my presentation. Today we're going to be talking about malware. I've titled this Eliminating the Threat, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Now, before we get to the actual presentation, there's a quiz in your packet there, very top. Who wants to go first? Anybody? What's that first question?
How many new malicious programs are detected in a day?
How many do you think it is?
D, over 100,000.
Close. It's actually 400,000. We're talking 400,000 new detected threats every single day. That's 400,000 different kind of threats you're going to have to protect your network from, your business, even your personal laptop. It's a pretty serious step. Who wants to take the second one?
What is the annual cost of malware prevention and removal in the United States?
Okay. What do you think it is?
Go with $100 million.
Not even close.
C.
What's that?
C. $45 billion.
Yes. Marcus has nailed it. It's actually in the billions. And that's a stat from about 2 years ago, so it's probably even worse now. That's the most recent one I can find. In the billions. Think about that. Billions of dollars we're talking here. Not millions, billions. So this is very costly stuff. Okay, who wants to take the third one?
True or false, the White House servers have never been hacked?
Think that's true or false?
Probably false.
Definitely false. They have been hacked multiple times. There was an example, they called it Code Red back in the early 2000s. WhiteHouse.gov actually went down because of a denial of service attack. Okay, who wants to take the fourth one?
True or false, Mac OS is safe from malware? False.
Definitely false. That used to be true, maybe a few years ago, but it's definitely false now. Okay, fifth one? No?
How many mobile devices are infected worldwide? I'd say C. 16 million plus.
That's correct. It's probably even more than that now. There's no way of knowing how many mobile devices are actually hacked, but that kind of gives us an idea. Okay, number 6.
True or false, people love to click on flashing pop-ups and ads that claim free iPads? True.
Absolutely true. They will absolutely not follow their common sense and go on the great step. All right, and go ahead and take the last one. Oh, yeah? Okay.
True or false? People will download screensavers from an unknown website hosted in Russia.
Definitely true. And that's not even happening. That's just like the minor stuff. All right, got the quiz out of the way. Let's get into the presentation. All right, I have 3 objectives for you today. We're going to identify different types and tactics of malware. Then we're going to learn how to use resources for removal and protection. And finally, we'll discuss how to prevent infection and attacks. Now, A/B Test is a German research lab, a security research lab, and this is the total amount of malware they've detected today. Now, as you can see, back in 2007, we had about a couple million or so there. But now, in 2016, we're up to like 500 million, half a billion different threats that this one research security lab has detected. That's 500 million different threats you have to protect yourself from. Let's just give you an idea of the numbers we're dealing with here. Now, 3 things are certain: death, taxes, and lost data. Mostly lost data. Now, can anyone tell me which type of malware specifically can cause lost data? Anyone? Well, it's actually the virus. Now, the reason that would lead to lost data is because of its self-replicating factors. Now, a virus needs a host file to do its dirty work. It has to have user access as well. So what will happen is the end user or whoever downloads something that ends up being a virus will download it and they'll execute it, and then it will start doing its nasty work. And it self-replicates. So it can actually overwrite your files. It can overwrite your OS files. So this can lead to a lot of bad stuff. Lost files, dead hard drive, lost performance. Like I said, here's the timeline. They'll download the file, they'll execute it, the virus will awaken, then it'll start spreading and self-replicating. Then it will lead to your files lost or the PC will crash. So, now, it can lead to something like this. The hard disk detected. Oh crap. Now what kind of virus specifically would cause this?
Something that overwrites your boot record, your master boot record?
Very close, yes. We call this a boot sector virus. Now all hard drives are divided up into sectors, and the most important one is probably the boot sector, because that's where the bootloader resides. Very, very dangerous, and they're almost impossible to remove. What this will do is this will load the virus before the operating system. So everything inside your operating system you normally use to protect yourself or remove this is useless, because the virus is already loaded beforehand. This can actually break your hard drives too. And like I said, viruses have self-replicating properties, so they can actually overwrite the firmware that's on your hard drive, making it totally useless. So watch out for these. Now this chart here shows you the boot sector and then master boot record and the boot loader. It'll usually insert itself somewhere in the master boot record or even the bootloader itself, somewhere. Now, next we have the logic bomb. This is a virus that's planted either by a disgruntled employee or someone on the inside of the company or government, and it waits for a predefined event, usually a specific time of action. An action would be, for example, someone executing a file, someone trying to connect to something. It could be anything, and they're devastating. This can lead to destruction of data. This can be an internal denial of service attack. It can be even data theft. So a lot of things that can be done with these. And lastly, for the viruses, we have the polymorphic. Now what this does is it changes itself, hence the word morphic. It can either change itself when you first download it from the malware creator's website, or it can change itself once it's actually on your system. Now the attack code doesn't actually change, just the surface of it, so the antivirus can't find it, because antiviruses determine if it's a virus by signatures. So this makes signatures useless. And they're often encrypted too, so if you try to decompile the code and look at it, it's actually going to be locked up nice and tight so you can't see what's going on there. Now, right here is a good example one. It's a short, simple little bash file. He's running an XP there. As you can see, it's having command prompt open, close, and it's spamming windows of it. That's kind of a polymorphic. It's changing its behavior constantly. That's a very simplistic version. A lot of them are much more complicated than that. That's a good example. Okay. Trojan horse. Now a lot of people, this is kind of a misconception, the Trojan horse itself is not actually a virus. It is malware. It's not a virus. The Trojan horse is going to have a virus payload there. Now if you were to download something like a fake antivirus, how many of you encountered that? Show of hands. Not just one? Okay. People are more careful than I thought. All right, so you download the fake antivirus. That's not actually the virus. The virus is going to execute in the background. And depending on the kind of malware it is, it's either going to be right in your face, or it's going to be hidden from sight, where you can't find it. And this is probably the most common form of malware we know of today. It's widespread. I'd say about 80–90% of malware is Trojan horse. Those Trojan horse read stickers. Okay, we have subtypes of the Trojan horse. We have fakeware, adware, ransomware, hijackers, and spyware. We'll go into a little more detail on a couple of these. Ransomware. Now, I'm sure a lot of us have experienced ransomware. Show of hands, who has had ransomware before? Not just one. Pretty nasty stuff, isn't it? When it goes through, it'll either lock down your system to where you can't use it. This is from the FBI. You've done something illegal. How dare you? Pay money now. Or to either encrypt your files, so you can't use your documents or your photos, things like that. And they'll hold it hostage. And you have to pay the money to get the private key to decrypt it. Very nasty stuff. This has cost businesses millions of dollars. Let's say you had a company and you had a database, and you had all of your crucial company records in there, and that got encrypted. That would cripple your whole business. Well, this is happening a lot. Then we have the hijacker and/or spyware. These are pretty scary. This can give an attacker control of your system, and a lot of times you don't even realize it. It's completely silent. Sometimes what will happen is the attacker will gain control of your system through Trojan and then use your system to spread more Trojans. So it becomes kind of a propagator, more malware. These are used a lot for data theft, and it's fine. So they can see your web history, see what you're Googling. It's kind of creepy. And we call these remote access Trojans, or RATs. If you see like a cursor move in a weird way, or you see ghost keystrokes, probably lost control of your system. Might want to do something about that. And the worm. This is probably the one that's cost the most money worldwide, by far. It spreads itself without user input. Now the virus self-replicates, but it has to have interaction. This doesn't. It's fully autonomous. It attacks primarily via email and networks. And they're very, very expensive to get rid of. Some worms that came out in 2009 are still out, which I'll show you in a second. Now, if you get a subject from your boss that says, "I love you," is that trustworthy? No, definitely not. Oh, how nice. I wonder what this attachment is. But you just got the worm, and you just emailed it to 200 or 300 other people that are in your contacts. Now, one of the most dangerous worms, and it's still out there, is the configure worm. This came out in 2009, and the only way you could protect yourself from this is if you had a strong password, all your shareable folders were secured, and you had the latest updates and antivirus. If you didn't have all of those, if you had just a slight nick in your armor, this thing would have infected. This infected 3 to 4 million computers basically overnight. Pretty scary stuff, and it's still out there. Now, rootkits. We've experienced these in church. This attacks the PC at the administrator and most often the kernel. Now we know, those of you who have taken software, know that operating systems are divided into user mode, kernel mode. The kernel mode is what interacts with the hardware itself, and that's where the rootkit is going to go. They're almost impossible to detect because once you get infected with one of these, you can't even really trust what your operating system says about itself. Yikes. This can even damage hardware in the worst cases. It's used to conceal most software rather than damage, and primarily by USB drives and other networks. And if you're not careful, they can disappear like that. That brings us to this. That's basically just a picture of what I just talked about, user mode. You have your rings of your operating system, then you have your kernel. That's where the rootkit goes. And that brings us to our first video.
For as long as cyber criminals have been cooking up malicious software to do stuff like steal your precious data, the security industry has been thinking up creative names for their little schemes. Trojans, worms, ransomware, you get the idea. But one of the most sinister forms of malware prevalent today is the dreaded rootkit. And although to the layman this sounds like some kind of dental procedure, an actual rootkit on your PC can be far more unpleasant. But then what exactly are they, and why can they be even more problematic than other types of computer infections? Great question. Like with a lot of the other threats to your system, the name rootkit reveals a lot. It's derived from the concept of root access in the operating system Unix, which allows a user broad permissions to change files and settings. And while the means by which different rootkits access to usually off-limits parts of the computer differ, all rootkits serve the same general function: to conceal either their own presence or the presence of another piece of malware, so that it can carry out its nefarious deeds on your system without you ever knowing. And it's because of this concealing behavior that rootkits are often very difficult to remove, as many users in the mid-2000s found out when they realized Sony had shipped a metric butt-ton of music CDs with rootkits designed for, you guessed it, copy protection. These rootkits hid the DRM software, which limited what users could do with their optical drives, and also caused serious system slowdowns and introduced a ton of security flaws that other malware creators were able to take advantage of. And then when Sony finally released a removal tool after news of the rootkit went viral, all it did was cause even more issues. So how do rootkits hide themselves anyway? While some rootkits just inject themselves into your programs, somewhat like traditional computer viruses, the more dangerous forms run as part of your operating system's kernel. You got it. But the core part of your OS that allows your programs to communicate with your hardware through things like device drivers. Since drivers usually run in kernel mode, many rootkits disguise themselves as drivers, which is why you should only download drivers from trusted sources like the manufacturer's website, no matter how badly you want to get your fancy new graphics card working. What makes kernel mode rootkits so insidious is that they essentially appear to be a part of the OS itself, meaning you can't really trust your antivirus program to detect it, or anything else your system says about itself for that matter. And as if that weren't bad enough, other kinds of rootkits even go beyond infecting your OS kernel by doing things like contaminating your hard drive's boot sector, often done to break encryption, or getting into your system's firmware, such as your motherboard or GPU BIOS. If that happens, not even completely reformatting your PC will help. Well, Linus, that all sounds pretty darn awful. If I don't even know I have a rootkit, how can I get rid of them? That, admittedly, is a challenge. Larger organizations have tried strategies like logging suspicious access requests through a firewall or dumping everything in a system's memory to look for malicious code, but these aren't the kinds of things a home user can easily do. Modern motherboards with UEFI BIOSes have some features to block rootkits, such as secure boot, but this solution has been criticized for keeping a user from doing legitimate things like installing multiple operating systems. So while some simpler rootkits can be detected and removed by your favorite anti-malware program, the best counter strategy is to just be super careful about what you download.
Okay, so as that video shows you, rootkits are pretty nasty stuff. Now that brings us to malware types and tactics. And we're going to go into a little more detail on a couple of these. Browser hijackers and toolbars, these are very common. This attacks your web browser, and once it gets inside, either like your Chrome or your Internet Explorer, it'll start redirecting you to websites that have malware. So it basically leads you to more malware, and it just gets worse and worse. And it'll typically bombard you with ads and windows. And end users love clicking on those ads, don't they? This is usually used in scareware scams, where the pop-up comes up, call such and such a number, Microsoft tech support. Microsoft doesn't have tech support. So. This also makes the PC more vulnerable to other threats. So if you have these, they open up leaks in your hardware to where more malware can get inside, like the more dangerous ones, like the viruses, for example. Oh look, the cute toolbar said I want a smart TV. I can trust it. No. How many of you have seen something like this? How many end users just have their browser just inundated with toolbars? You can't even see the web page we're crying about. I've seen this dozens of times. It never gets old. And the end user's like, well, what's so funny? And I'll tell you later. Okay, exploits and zero-day attacks. Now, exploits are vulnerabilities in software. And zero-day vulnerabilities are exploits that are unknown. And those are particularly dangerous. Now, malware is coded specifically to attack an exploit, whether it's zero-day or not. And this can bypass all your security measures. So if you have a firewall, you have an IDS, if you have just the slightest weakness that's not patched, you can just go straight in and attack your network. What you don't know can't hurt you. The end user might say, for example, 200 updates. These actually do anything? They take 2 to 3 hours to download for crying out loud. Well, yes, actually they do. Every single patch or update is blocking one of these exploits or patching it, so it can't be used for an attack. Now, a lot of times they come too late. If you get attacked and the patch comes out like a month or 2 later, is that helpful? No. And zero-day attacks are especially scary. And that's our second video.
You've taken great care to secure your network. But even with responsible and sustained investments in your defenses, you're still at risk. Attackers can bypass your security through an uncharted software vulnerability, a loophole revealed only by the persistent probing of a determined hacker. This is how a network is breached. This is how valuable data is stolen. This is zero-day. zero-day is a software vulnerability that is previously unknown and unpatched, and therefore can be exploited by a threat actor to gain entry to a target network. A hacker finds a zero-day through hours, weeks, or months of painstaking effort. He scours through lines of code, probing applications and operating systems to find some weakness, some flaw. He methodically barrages the target application with an array of reverse engineering tools and techniques, forcing the software to reveal a small crack in the defenses that provides him a way to secretly execute code. With this vulnerability in hand, the hacker has a choice. Help the software vendor by providing them information about the vulnerability, or sell it to a broker, a black market vendor of zero-day exploits. The broker compiles an inventory of zero days to build his reputation on the dark net with one goal: selling his exploits at the highest price. The broker lists these zero days on secret forums. He acts as a matchmaker between exploit and attacker. The attacker needs an exploit that augments their existing tools and techniques. They use reconnaissance data to select the zero-day exploit that is most likely to compromise their target. Because zero-day exploits are previously unknown, they provide an element of surprise. The attacker incorporates the zero-day exploit into their customized attack, and once the perfect storm of program, process, and payload is concocted, the attack is launched.
That's the kind of thing that keeps IT pros up at night. Pretty scary stuff. Now, a good example of that action is the target breaches and the assembly breaches, for example. They found an exploit, they found a weakness in their defenses, and they got straight in. They had all these security measures, but they were useless. Now, in your handouts there, the next page you have should look like kind of like a network map. That's ransomware that uses an exploit to attack the system. So you can just look at that for a second. That's a good example of how malware creators will use exploits. That just kind of gives you a rough idea. And there's a lot of research you can do into this to see exactly how bad some of these exploits are. There's whole websites dedicated to this sort of thing. Okay, moving on. Botnets. These are really scary too. This is a huge network of zombie and bot computers that are used to attack primarily. They have no other function. They're a threat for any network. Your home, business, enterprise, government. Doesn't matter who it is. These are primarily used for distributed denial of service attacks, used to throw out spam out there, millions and millions of spam emails, and mass data theft, like with the target breaches. It's probably one of the biggest threats we have around today besides the worms. And these are actually spread via worms and Trojans. At least it is in Skynet now. That brings us to our next video.
What is a bot? What is a botnet? What is an advanced persistent threat? And how are these dangerous to your company? Let's briefly explore these threats and their consequences over the next few minutes. A bot is a malicious software that invades your computer. Bots can infect any system in your network in a multitude of ways, even with firewalls, anti-malware, and IPS defenses in place. Vulnerabilities can still allow persistent hackers to infiltrate your network. Infections can occur through targeted hacker attacks or with anyone opening an email attachment that has been compromised, exploiting vulnerabilities in unpatched applications, or simply by browsing to an infected website. Social engineering can be a key factor in the propagation of this malicious software. Bots are also very clever. They can hide within your computer, changing the way they appear to antivirus software, and in some cases, making the antivirus software totally useless. Once embedded in your system, bots allow criminals to remotely control your computer to execute illegal activities without your knowledge. Bots are often used as tools in targeted attacks. known as Advanced Persistent Threats, or APTs, where cyber criminals pinpoint specific individuals or even companies for attack. A botnet is a collection of such compromised computers. According to recent reports, 1 in 4 computers in the European Union has been compromised by botnets. You may have heard of such infamous botnets such as Zeus, Cutwhale, Redolab, or Waledak. Many botnets have infected millions of computers for criminal or hacktivism purposes and cost businesses millions of dollars in brand damage and data loss. How does a botnet work? Once the malicious software has been successfully installed in a computer, the computer can become a zombie or a bot, remotely controlled by a cyber criminal to do their bidding, such as stealing your data, using your email to spread spam, distributing malware to your distribution list, or collectively participating in denial-of-service attacks. Bots can also infect other computers, inside and outside of your company, creating a botnet made of thousands of individual zombies with multiple and distributed control servers. What is the danger of a botnet? Bots can create a significant risk for data loss, representing a backdoor to the enterprise network, collecting sensitive information and sending it to the botnet controller. You could lose data such as customer records, source code, or username and password that could lead to further breaches. The reputation of your organization can also be affected by having an infected machine send millions of spam or by being part of a denial-of-service attack. In most cases, a single bot can generate multiple threats across multiple regions. While botnets have the potential to infect millions of computers, unfortunately, it only takes one employee to unintentionally click on a malicious link in the email or web browser and infect the entire organization. The prominence of botnets like Zeus, that alone infected millions of computers installed approximately $70 million, has changed the way we think about security. As enterprises embrace new technologies such as virtualization, Web 2.0, and mobile computing, cyber criminals are continually finding new entry points into corporate systems, and preemptive protection has never been more critical. For more information and resources about botnets, visit www.checkpoint.com.
Pretty scary stuff. Now, there's another thing in your handout there. It gives an example of a botnet there, and the different uses they can be used for. They can be used for, like you said, the distributed denial-of-service attacks, can host phishing sites, things like that. So these botnets can be used for a lot of different purposes. And there's hundreds, thousands of them that we know of. We don't really know how many more there are. Okay, resources for removal and protection. We won't go into all of these. We'll just briefly skim over a couple of these. Antivirus, we talked about the antivirus quite a bit. That's a signature-based detection system. Some of them can use behavior analysis, but most often it's just a signature. These are only good for preventing threats that are already known about. So your antivirus company, like Kaspersky, Red Root, Norton, whatever it may be, may have a database of all the malware and viruses they've detected up to this date, and they'll send that database in small chunks to your antivirus. Then when it scans your system, or it looks for the virus, it'll try and match it to one of those signatures that, that's a virus, I must get rid of it. But if it's a new threat, or it's unknown, antivirus is basically useless. And there's some common suites there. But you do have to have this, most definitely. Now you also need to have anti-malware. Malware bytes, for example. This is good for removing those more recent threats that the antivirus can't find or detect. This one is very behavior-based on its detection. And it's great at cleaning up like those screensavers and toolbars. We call them hubs, potentially unwanted programs. Also good for getting rid of spyware and adware, but it's not good at prevention. It is good at removal. And anti-exploit, this is a good one. All these browsers that we use, Chrome, Internet Explorer, they have exploits. Now what anti-exploit do is it'll intelligently look for them and patch them so that you can't be exploited. Now system terminals, this is a suite designed and developed by Mark Vasanovich. He's a genius. He knows Windows in and out. I won't go into detail on these because you can have a whole presentation just on one of these tools because they are so detailed, so useful. But definitely download the system terminals. I use it on a daily basis. It can be a real lifesaver. And AdBlock. How many of you use AdBlock? few of you. This can actually prevent the ads from loading in the first place. Now, if you work at a company, for example, you can install these into your browsers, and then the end users have no ads to click on. So that's prevention right there. It also saves bandwidth, because those video ads, for example, chew up your bandwidth, and they can actually make your browser slow down. So, no reason not to have ad block. Boot disk and live disk. How many of you use these? Somebody? Okay. These are definitely must-haves. These are based on Linux usually. And when you can't remove it from the system within the system, this is its own operating system that you can boot into, and it has a crap ton of removal tools you can use. Excellent. There are so many different ones to choose from too. And hardware and software firewalls. Software would be like your Windows firewall. It's usually built into your OS, but it only protects that computer that's installed. They're very complex. You can configure them via ports, all kinds of different rules you can set, and it's pretty time consuming to do so. They can monitor your connections, and sometimes software firewalls can be used to filter websites, so they have their uses. Most often, though, if you're a company, you'll use a hardware firewall. Now, these are expensive. These can cost $10,000 or more, because these are used to protect entire networks. These examine things at the packet level. You can actually determine, using a hardware firewall, whether a packet is malicious or not. So you can determine if it's from a denial of service attack, for example, or it's legitimate. And they're great at stopping denial of service attack. But they have to be configured, because out of the box, they're just a dumb device, nothing set. But they do protect entire networks, and they're easy to maintain and administrate. So, with all that in mind, all this malware, all these viruses, why don't we just nuke the site and be done with it? I don't want to deal with it anymore. Now, you probably don't want to nuke your business. That would get rid of your malware problem and get rid of your money and your business too. So, what did we do so we don't have to do that? Prevention. That's the key. We have to prevent the attacks and the viruses from getting to us in the first place. There's a number where we can do this. We can educate our coworkers. We'll go into detail on that. Keep every single PC, I should have made that device, on your network updated. Your workstations, your servers, your smartphone, keep everything patched and updated. Everything. All the software on those devices needs to be updated as well, including non-security. So Office, for example, has a lot of vulnerabilities. Keep everything up to date. You can even get software, I think it's third party, you can use to auto-update all your software automatically. Those are must-haves. Scan for threats daily, set up automatic scanning on all your antivirus and anti-malware. And disable any auto runs you can, unless, for example, it's a critical Windows service. And stay up to date on the latest countermeasures. Do your research. Sometimes that has to be daily, depending on what kind of profession you're in. And replace outdated hardware. Talk a little bit about that. And of course, please don't use XP. XP is dead. Let it go. Vista will not be named because we all hate Vista. That's why I don't use XP. Oh look, gives you free cookies though. Must be trustworthy. Okay, now this is old stats. This is from 2009. When Windows 7 was coming out, XP users were 6 times more likely to get attacked than Windows 7 users. In 2009. It's probably 10 times worse now, because updates and everything else that needs to be needed. Now, take a little break from your information here. I'm sure a lot of you interacted with end users. So this will ring true for a lot of you, I'm sure.
Have you tried turning it off and on again? Oh, okay, well, the button on the side, is it glowing? Yeah, you need to turn it on. And the button turns it on? Yeah. You do know how a button works, don't you? Buzz.
Hello, IT. Yeah, huh? Have you tried forcing an unexpected reboot?
No, there you go. No, there you go. I just heard it come on. No, that's the music you hear when it comes on. No, that's the music you hear when... I'm sorry, are you from the past?
You see, the driver hooks a function by patching the system call table, so it's not safe to unload it unless another thread's about to jump in there and do its stuff, and you don't want to end up in the middle of invalid memory. Hello?
Oh, really? Really? Well, why don't you come down here and make me then? Huh? What, you think I'm afraid of you? I'm not afraid of you! You can come down here anytime and I'll be waiting for you. I told her. Oh, God, it's about time you got back. It's been all go.
You had a job.
Girl on 5th.
Did you and her hit it off?
Define hit it off.
Did she continue talking to you once you'd fixed her computer?
No. And while I was...
That's a good show, IT Crowd. That's on Netflix if you guys have Netflix. It's hilarious. Now, as that video demonstrates, and I'm sure all of you know this, end users, when it comes to IT and computers, they're not very bright. So if they don't even know how to turn on a computer in the first place, how are they going to know what's dangerous and what's not when they browse the web or when they do their daily tasks? We have to educate them. You can use presentations like this one, of course, not quite as technical as the, well, what's malware? You can give classes if needed, depending on the business you have. Teach them how to browse safely. That's probably the most important thing. Look, don't click that, don't click that. Just, you know what, don't click anything. Use handouts and manuals. I've seen a lot of people use these. A lot of the IT techs will print out these handouts. They kind of look like infographics, and they can be very handy for the end users. That way you don't have to go out there every single time they have a question. So it can help you out. Make them experts in the art of restarting, just like the guy we just saw. Explain that Microsoft does not call and threaten you for money. They need to realize that. Hello? I am from tech support. I will help you. I will steal all your money. They need to realize that that's a scam. And so many people fall for that. So even though it's been in the news and things like that. So explain that to them. You have to tell them why you must avoid certain websites. There's just some websites you cannot visit. It doesn't matter who you are. But it said it would make my computer faster and more powerful. This is why you can't have nice things. Okay, outdated hardware. Older CPUs do not have built-in protection like modern CPUs. So we call it data execution protection, and this is in the CPU itself. It can determine to some extent whether a process is trying to gain control of the system. And it can prevent it in a lot of cases. Older CPUs don't have it. So if you're still rocking the first AMD 64, probably time to upgrade. Now if you have a server, ECC RAM can be great because it can help you recover from errors caused by some of the more malicious viruses and Trojans. Newer motherboards are better equipped. UFI, as mentioned in the rootkit video, is far better and far more secure than BIOS. You can even encrypt and secure UFI to some extent. And newer storage tends to have better encryption. So if your data does get stolen, you'll have better data protection. That's just another thing to consider. And in conclusion, just to sum everything up, use common sense. This applies to you too. Be smart. I mean, if it says, or you think it's from Russia, probably not safe. Do you really want to play Russian roulette? Keep all your hardware and software updated at all times. At all times. You need to memorize that one. Stay up to date and research. How many people have worked with end users who they have Norton that expired in 2003 or 2004? Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. But it's installed. It's expired. You can't use it anymore. Know your enemy. Say Vista. I must destroy it. Now, key thing here. Know what you're doing. If you're going to go in and start deleting files, know the difference between what a malware file is or a virus and critical Windows files. You don't want to go in there and delete your page file, for example. And also get in the habit of monitoring activity on your network. What's all this FTP traffic? Well, unless you're watching your network and monitoring every single day, you're not going to know if you're being attacked or not. So you have to watch it. Install network monitors, set up SNMP, management monitoring. I learned from experience. I know now not to trust tech support. The end users need to learn that they don't. And reach out to the IT community. There's several different forums out there. There's some Reddits that can be helpful. A good one is the Malware blog. Definitely check that out. They release daily things about exploits and new threats. Definitely check that out. And check out the forums. There's YouTube channels you can look at. A lot of people are willing to help here. So if you get hit with a prank match swap from your friend, there's probably a forum where you can learn how to remove it. All right, that pretty much sums it up. Appreciate you guys coming out. And just take everything you've learned today. Learning how to identify malware. Learning how to remove it. Learn how to prevent it. Apply all that to your knowledge. It'll help you be more successful as an IT pro. And just overall in your everyday life. And if we all work together, we do our research, maybe someday we'll be able to eliminate the threat. Thank you.